Hey everyone, Clint here from Oak and Iron Outdoors. Last year I made a video, and I'll put the link down below, in regards to how to make your own battery box. And I had a lot of responses from you folks recently on, well, how well did that battery box hold up? Did you get any water in it? Did you get any moisture? Did the batteries hold up throughout the entire year? So on and so forth. You know what? And I'm creating this video right now to help answer some of that for you folks here today. Now, I did create a little clip actually of when I picked up my last battery box and essentially Tactacam Reveal, and I'll show that to you guys right now. Just a little disclaimer, the camera was on when I got to it. I quick turned it off to turn it back on, just so the battery bars would show, and that way I could see how much battery was left, just so that way you don't think that the camera was off the entire time and that's why it had full battery. All right, anyways, let's just show that clip right now. Hey everyone, I am going to go pull a trail camera now that I put back in August, and we are at January 20th. So I created this battery box here. I know some of you have asked, is everything dry? And how is everything inside the battery box? So, you know what? Let's just open it up. That is super dry. That is super dry. There is an ounce of moisture in here. Also, with that battery box, let's see if we have power. And we do, and we're sitting at full bars of power. So as you can tell, that battery box worked flawlessly, all right? And I ran 6 of these battery boxes last year that I created, and none of them had moisture in it, not one. The seals held up great. Some of them even had some snow piled on top of them, so on and so forth. You know, and here in Wisconsin, you know, this electronic equipment, I think, gets tested fairly well, especially with all these different elements, these cold weather elements that we have here in Wisconsin. Now, the question that some of you might be asking is, Clint, how did these batteries hold up? Did you have enough juice? Is there anything you would change differently in regards to creating your battery box? Let's go over that right now. The battery I utilized in all my battery boxes was this Expert Power, all right? This is a 7 amp hour battery. It's a little bit smaller battery, but it was fairly inexpensive. Now, the whole goal of going to these battery boxes was to save myself money, all right? Because I have been running the last couple of years, and I run 12 Tactacam Reveals, and I also utilize 7 cheapos, okay? Now, with the cheapos, sometimes I'll use the Energizer lithium batteries. Sometimes I'll just use AA alkaline batteries. But with all my Tactacams, I always did utilize the Energizer lithium batteries. And they were just getting to be way too expensive. And I needed to find ways to save a little money going forward, because it was just getting way too pricey to run all of these, right? So that's when I decided to create my own battery box and then show you folks last year in regards to that video. So with that being said, I averaged about 25 to 30 pics a day with my cameras. Now, just to understand, you know, I hunt primarily public land and knock-on-door permission, okay? And when I create my mock scrapes, especially on my knock-on-door permission properties, they're offset somewhere, and that's where I put my cell cams, okay? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't have food plots, and I stay away from field edges, all right? Just because most of my big bucks that come through these particular properties, I tend to get them more on those mock scrapes. For the places I hunt, okay, I'm more after quality of pictures than quantity. 25 to 30 pics, this battery is plenty. Now, I would say is, wherever you get your box from, okay, make sure it has that seal on it, all right? Now, I did have a couple battery boxes that were totally snow covered, and you know, when I opened up that box, they were completely dry inside. And as you can tell, the box itself has plenty of room for even bigger batteries, and I just put that little foam component in there, and that foam is nice because as I walk through the woods, whether I'm taking the battery box too or pulling it out of the woods, that battery just doesn't slosh around in there. And then I figured too, if any moisture did get in there, that foam would help suck up or soak up any of that extra moisture if it did get in there, but it did not. So the other thing I want to say is these squirrel-proof cables, okay? They actually have a wire coating on them. No issue whatsoever. You know, and one of the things that I kind of liked is not only that I knew that little critters couldn't chew on them, but, you know, they couldn't get kinked. Let's just say a tree kind of fell on it, whatever the case may be. These are built very, very well. Very happy with these cords. They do cost a little bit more than, let's say, some of the cords that maybe if you just bought directly from Amazon for your battery, but I do recommend those particular cords. Now, some of you might be saying, all right, Clint, are you going strictly to the battery boxes and for next year, or this year, I should say? And the answer is yes. I love these battery boxes so much. They save me a ton of money. I just top them off when I get back. When they bring the batteries back in early April, I'm going to top them off again. Just good to top those batteries off halfway through that off season, just to make sure that those batteries are running good. And it actually topping them off helps with battery longevity. But with that being said, I still have these Energizer lithiums that I'm going to utilize next year on some of my public land spots. And the only reason being is that I don't want these boxes sitting out on public land for the most part in spots that I think somebody could walk by and scarf the battery box. I will still be utilizing these. So I'm thinking 2 cameras next year on public land that I'm going to utilize the Energizer lithium. So they still have their particular purpose. The other thing I do want to mention is mock scrapes. Now, I did make a video last year on what's called perfecting the mock scrape. And that's where I like to put my cameras, all right? And in doing so, I really like areas that have cedars, pines, those dark, dingy areas. It just makes bucks feel safe when you have all of that canopy, that really thick canopy around them. In doing so, that kind of takes solar out of the question. Now, I do have 2 Tactacam Reveal solar panels. So I did run 2 of these solar panels last year, but I felt like they hindered me just a little bit because I had to put them where I had enough sun. And that kind of forced me to be maybe where I didn't quite want to be with my mock scrapes, or maybe the trail that I was covering with these solar panels. And even towards the end of, let's say, the 4th month, these were getting a little low and weren't charging as much as I needed, just because we just didn't have enough daylight here in Wisconsin at the end of December, early January. And I felt like maybe I was just hindered just a little bit, where with the battery boxes, when I want to stick them on those mock scrapes in those really dark, dingy, shaded areas where those big bucks like to sneak through and hit those mock scrapes, this is no issue. The other thing is they can be hidden very well. Now, if you want, and I might do this too, just put some markings on here to help camouflage it. But actually what I did that worked out very well is, you know, you have a lot of the old leaves and stuff. I always put my battery box on the back side of the tree, essentially on the back side over the camera, because I think deer, especially mature bucks, can see these, you know, they see these square rectangle pieces of equipment, the camera hanging on the tree. I also feel that they could pick these guys out as well, all right? So what I would do is I put them on the back side of the tree, and then if I had a lot of leaves or even logs, old mossy logs laying around, I would just throw them on top of the battery box, hiding them even more. And that just kept it a little bit more hidden from mature whitetails, as well as maybe some sneaky fingers that would like to walk by and take those if they ever came on those properties that I was at. And I didn't have any issues with trespassers. Well, I take that back. I had issues with one trespasser last year. And he left it alone, thank goodness, left the battery box alone. But anyways, so hopefully that gave you folks at home some feedback on these battery boxes. You know, and the other thing I'll just like to quick say is that last year, after I made that video, I think a lot of people went out and bought these components from Herd 360 because I wanted to make just a couple of last minute boxes and they were all sold out. So now in the off season is the time to make these battery boxes. It's kind of a nice little project to do. You know, it's spring, we got some rainy days coming up here. It's kind of fun making these battery boxes, and get these components right now. You'll know they'll be available as long as with the batteries and the boxes, all right? And just stack them up and get them ready to put out in the woods here this fall. As a matter of fact, because I know that these batteries can get me through a full season, I will actually start taking my cameras and I'll start putting them out probably at the end of June now, early July, where before, because I was running AA batteries, I wasn't putting my cameras out until that early to mid-August. And that was just because I wanted to make sure that I had enough battery power to get me through a full season. Because for me personally, the whole reason I have cell cams is so I don't have to go out there and leave my stink, if you want to call it that, out in the deer woods. All right, that's the purpose. And when I had the AA's, I'm like, okay, I need to make these last. They have to last all the way through an entire season. So I wouldn't put my cameras out till later. Where here, now because of the battery boxes and my confidence that a camera can get through a full season, I'm gonna put these out earlier this year. So if you folks found this video helpful, please hit that subscribe button. You know, this year is going to be a fun year. I have a lot of videos planned for you folks. We're going to do some walleye fishing. We're going to be doing some turkey hunting. And then my favorite again is bow hunting, and hopefully get some really nice bucks for you folks on video this fall for bow hunting. And then I'll just share with you all of my tactics and strategies for whitetail success. Until next time, Clint from Oak and Iron Outdoors.